but it's okay, it's fine.
I think
I think the hours are
It's a wordy thing.
leaving up to the discretion.
Absolutely.
All right.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion with the conditions, or well, with the limitations, and it's been seconded. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. Our oral decision will become final upon a written decision which will be issued within 30 days unless otherwise extended by this board. The board's decision may be appealed by filing a petition for judicial review with the clerk of the circuit court for Carroll County in accordance with revisions of Chapter 200, Title 7 of the board's Rules of Procedure. The appeal must be filed within 30 days of the date of the board's written decision. Thank you very much, and this hearing is adjourned.
Thank you very much.
Yep, good luck. I'm going to call the BZA hearing back to order, and before us, we have case number 6605. Mr. Dixon, could you go ahead and introduce the file for us, please?
All right, case 6605, a request for conditional use and multiple variances for a contractor's equipment storage yard. The site is located at 1430 Buckhorn Road, Sykesville, Maryland, on Property Zone A, Agricultural District and Election District 14, by Chris Vedrani, Code of Public Local Laws and Ordinances, Sections 158.040, 158.071.01, 158.071.03, 158.173. A site visit is planned for March 18, 2026 at approximately 9:45 a.m. In the file of this matter, we have site minutes. There is a response to a request of various state and local agencies from Thomas Harris, Deputy Code Official for Permits and Inspections. All comments will be addressed during the site plan and building permit process. There's a March 19, 2026 memo from Carlisle Falat. The above referenced BZA case has been reviewed for consistency with the policies and recommendations contained in the 2014 Carroll County Master Plan as amended in 2019, the Carroll County Water and Sewer Plan, Master Plan, and other functional plans. Planning staff finds that this request is consistent with the 2014 Carroll County Master Plan as amended in 2019. There's a March 1st, 2026 letter from Lori and David Schleicher. They're neighbors to the subject property, that they have submitted an application for a contract equipment storage yard facility with multiple associated variances at the above mentioned location. The applicant is a very good neighbor and an asset to our community. We do not oppose the application and write to express our joint support for the above reference application. There's another letter like that from a George Lowe. And another letter like that from Denise Look Alone. Denise Love. And goodness, someone else. There's another letter like that from a Richard Erb. There's a similar letter like that from a Jennings B. Gaither. Oh, another letter like that from a Margaret Gaither. Another letter like that from a Diane Bear. Another letter like that from Lori and David Schleicher. All right, there's a response to Bethany Henderson's request of various state and local agencies from, I think I read this, Thomas Harris, Permits and Inspections. All comments will be addressed during the site plan and building permit processes. Response to Bethany Henderson's request from Anastasia Yemelyanova, zoning administrator. The property is located in the agricultural zoning district and consists of approximately 18 acres. The proposed contractor's equipment storage yard is a conditional use. There is an attachment for Janet O'Meara, Bureau Chief, Resource Management. There is a response to Bethany Henderson's request of various state and local agencies from J.P. Smith Jr., Program Manager, Ag Land Preservation Program. This property is not in ag preservation. I do not have any comments at this time. There is a response from Lisa Staley, Carroll County Environmental Health Department. Proposed use may not be acceptable unless it is demonstrated that there is an adequate water supply and adequate area for the installation of an initial and 2 replacement septic systems for the proposed use and any existing uses of this property. There is a response from Laura Matthias, Bureau Chief, Development Review. A site plan will need to be processed in accordance with Chapter 155. There's a February 12, 2026 letter from Kelly Schaefer Miller to the board with the application, and the application includes a plan from RTF Associates, Inc. I would ask that the file be entered in evidence.
Moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
We'll go ahead and move the file into evidence. Before we get started, make sure that you've signed in on the sign-in, the clipboard there on the side table. Make sure that you turn all your electronic devices to silence, please. And if you're going to testify in this case today, I'd ask that you stand and raise your right hand and take the oath.
Do it just in case you need to talk, Ryan.
Ma'am, you want to make any comment on this case? Are you sure? I'm observing. Okay, you're just observing. Okay, very good. Do you swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Very good. You can be seated. So with that, let me explain the process for those of you that haven't been here. I see the applicant has legal counsel. She'll go ahead and make opening comments, then call her witnesses. Anyone from the audience will have the opportunity to ask questions of the actual testimony that the witness gave. I'm assuming there's going to be more than one witness, and the board will also have the opportunity to ask the witnesses questions of their testimony. There'll be a summation, comments, and then the board will go ahead and deliberate the case. So with that, Ms. Schaefer Miller.
Thank you. Good morning. Kelly Schaefer Miller, 73 East Main Street, Westminster, Maryland, 21157. I'm here this morning on behalf of the applicant. A representative, Chris Vedrani, is seated to my left. He will be testifying here today. We are here today requesting conditional use approval and several associated variances. Those variances are an area variance, setback variances, and distance variances as outlined in the application. This property is interesting, and as we begin testifying, some of you may have your memory jogged a bit here. There is a history of BZA approvals for this property dating back to 2007. So the former property owner here applied for a contractor equipment storage yard back in 2007, and that was heard in BZA case 5337. And I will provide you copies of all of this, and Chris will speak a little bit more to this, but I just want to sort of set the stage, if I will. So back in 2007, this property was granted the conditional use approval and variances were granted. So at that time, the board did determine that this property was unique and unusual and met the legal standard necessary for distance variances at the time. Then fast forward to 2019, when Chris Vedrani came in before you in case 6167 and requested an expansion of the contractor's equipment storage yard. So that was an area variance. At the time, in 2019, that was granted up to 2 acres, along with all of the other requested variances. At the time, there were still some setback variances, as well as those distance variances that were applicable in 2007. We are here today, and that case actually was an original case and a reconsideration case requesting an amendment to one of the conditions. So there were really 2 case numbers. That was case 6167 and 6167R, both heard in 2019. So that approval was granted in 2019, and he has been operating the site since then in a substantially similar fashion to what was heard in 2019. We are here today because the applicant did submit a site plan and proceeded through the site plan process. And I will let Chris respond to any specific questions, but he did not necessarily understand the consequences of abandoning the site plan process and became overly frustrated with the stormwater management component of the site plan process. So he let that site plan expire, not anticipating that that would also make that 2019 approval expire. So that approval expired, and then when that was brought to his attention, we applied, and here we are back again requesting substantially the same approval, with the understanding that now he needs to submit and fully go through that site plan process that is required of him. You will hear today testimony that the request is substantially similar to what was heard back in 2019. I will point out to you that that our code has changed since 2019. So in 2019, you saw some generic 400-foot distance variance request. Now the distance requirements have changed, so that is why you see additional distance variances requested as part of this application. The actual area is the same as what was approved in 2019, so it is still the 2 acres, which does require the area variance to 2 acres, but it is what was approved in 2019. So I'm going to provide you all copies of my exhibit packet so that you have this.
Thank you.
Thank you and good morning.
Thanks.
We will walk through all of these exhibits in testimony, but I did include, just out of convenience, the first page is a smaller scale copy of the RTF plan so that you all just are able to have that in front of you. John Lemmerman will point this out, but I will just say that all of the red arrows there indicate the distance variances specifically. So with that, I would first call Mr. Chris Vedrani. Chris, can you please state your name, spelling your last name, and address for the record?
Chris Vedrani, last name is V as in Victor, E-D-R-A-N-I. Address is 1430 Buckhorn Road, Sykesville, Maryland, 21784. 48, sorry.
And Chris, did you hear my introductory statement?
Yes,
Was all of that true and accurate?
yes,
Okay. And you own the subject property, correct?
correct.
Approximately when did you take ownership of the property?
Testing my memory. Roughly 2019, 18, 17? 2017, I believe. Maybe I should read
Do
my
you want to
notes.
look at your at your SDAT information?
Okay, 2015, excuse me.
So late 2015 is when you first took ownership, correct?
It's been a hot minute, yes.
Okay.
Yes,
And you also own an adjacent property, correct?
correct.
So if you are facing the property and you see the one house at the entrance, at the left of the entrance, you also own the house at the right of the entrance, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and we can point that out a bit more. Let's see if, yeah. Okay, so if you're looking at the RTF plan that was accompanying the application, it is the residential parcel located to the right of the entrance of your site, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And at the time that you first took ownership of the subject property here today, the property did have an approval for a contractor's equipment storage yard for a landscaping business, is that correct?
Correct.
And that is what I am showing you, which has been marked as applicant's exhibit 1. That is that 2007 BZA approval in case 5337, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to ask that applicant's exhibit 1 please be entered.
We'll go ahead and accept that into evidence.
Thank you. Then, Chris, in the summer of 2019, you appeared before the board requesting a modification of that 2007 approval. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and at that time, the modification requested an area variance, setback variances, and a distance variance. Is that accurate?
Yes, that's accurate.
I am showing you what's been marked as applicant's exhibit 2. This is a copy of BZA case number 6167, at which point the board approved that request subject to certain conditions. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay. I would like to ask that applicant's exhibit 2 please be entered.
We will accept that into evidence.
Thank you. On December 4th, 2019, you appeared back before this board in case number 6167R to request a reconsideration related to the hours of operation in that case, correct?
Correct.
And at that time, you received an approval to revise the condition on hours of operation to be from 6 a.m. until 6 p.m. Is that accurate?
Yes.
And you are looking at what I have marked as applicant's exhibit 3. Is that a copy of the written decision in that reconsideration case?
Yes.
I'd like to ask that applicant's exhibit 3, which is a copy of case number 6167R, please be entered.
And we will accept that into evidence.
Thank you. And then you heard my explanation that that approval ultimately expired because you did not pursue a site plan approval within the required time frame. Is that accurate?
Yes.
And you are here today requesting a use substantially similar to the use approved in 2019 with the intent of securing a site plan approval, correct?
Correct.
Chris, I am showing you what I have marked as applicant's exhibit 4. Is this a Google Earth aerial that shows the subject site circled in red and accurately depicts the surrounding area?
Yes.
I would like to ask that applicant's exhibit 4 please be entered.
And we'll accept that into evidence.
Thank you. Chris, I'm next showing you what's been marked as applicant's exhibit 5, which is a total of 5 pages here in this packet. And we're just gonna walk through these. These are photographs of the site, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So looking at page 1 of 5 on exhibit 5, which is the first photograph, is that a photograph shown entering the site?
Yes. Yes, it is.
Okay. And that's actually, perhaps we should clarify, not necessarily entering the property, that's shown entering the limits of what's requested as the contractor yard, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Turning you to page 2 of 5 of those site photos, is that a photograph looking the other way? Now we're looking out from the perimeter of the contractor yard towards Buckhorn Road.
Yes.
Now we're on page 3 of 5 of the site photographs. Is that a photograph showing the rear of the yard area?
Yes, it is.
And then page 4 of 5, here the site photograph is looking west from the site, on the site looking west, correct?
Correct.
Which if you're facing the property at Buckhorn would be looking to the left, correct?
Correct.
And then page 5 of 5 here is looking the opposite direction, looking east, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And these photographs were taken within the past week, were they not?
Yes.
So these show the conditions right now in winter without even all of the natural vegetation having leaves and such, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I would like to ask that applicant's exhibit 5 please be entered.
And we will go ahead and accept that into evidence.
Thank you. Chris, since appearing in 2019, have you been approached by any of your neighbors with a complaint about the use?
No.
And in fact, you've had the opportunity to inform many of your neighbors about the request here today, have you not?
Correct. Yes.
And several of those letters that Mr. Dixon read into the file were support letters that your neighbors were willing to provide for this case, correct?
Correct.
Okay. In terms of, we're gonna walk through the characteristics of the use, and how the site is operated on a daily basis. So can you explain to the board what business you are in?
So we are a landscape contractor providing residential services to clients all over
Okay.
Carroll County, Montgomery County, DC.
You do a lot of work in DC, correct?
We do a lot of work in DC.
Okay. And what is your background in the business? How long have you been in the business?
So I graduated from Westminster High School in 1987, and I went to work for a landscape contractor in Woodbine. Grew up there for 21 years, and then in 2010 decided I wanted to start my own business. So Plant the Earth became a reality. So my entire career has been in residential contracting, landscape contracting.
And I think we'll get into some of the specifics in a minute, but I just want to clarify for the board that in providing these residential services, you sort of have two arms of the business, correct?
Correct. There is what we call construction side, which has masons involved and planting involved. And then there's a care side, which is the maintenance side of the company where, I mean, our goal is to build the garden and then maintain the garden and have a client for life. That's our goal.
And the types of projects that you predominantly work on are larger construction, new construction, or pretty significantly large residential projects, correct?
Correct. Our average contract is somewhere around 150,000. They're big homes that are being constructed that we get in the very beginning, so we may be building all the hardscapes for the clients, which allows us the flexibility of keeping equipment there, tools there. The houses aren't usually lived in when we start.
Okay. And for the site, let's talk about the hours and days of operation. So now this was all spoken to in your 2019 case, and that remains pretty much the same, correct?
Exactly the same.
Okay. So the hours and days of operation are Monday through Friday, correct, in terms of days?
Correct.
All right, and what hours?
The crews report at 6 in an effort for them to get out of the yard by 6:15 and ahead of the Capitol Beltway. Basically, we want to get down the road before traffic. So the crews report at 6. Most of the office staff reports between 8 and 8:30. The crews that are there we load up at night, so the crews come back around 4, get loaded, prepared for the next day, get to the yard at 6 in the morning, they're out the door by 6:15. So by 6:30, it's pretty quiet in that place.
Okay, so at 6 o'clock, crews arrive, get in trucks, leave. About 6:15, they're gone from the site, correct?
Correct.
Then, between 8 and 8:30, office staff arrives, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And is it accurate that you do not accept any deliveries or have any equipment running earlier than 7 a.m.?
Yes.
Okay. And then, I think you just said this, but I want to make sure that the board understands. So then, between the two sides of the business, the maintenance side and the construction side, the maintenance crew are the first to kind of return to the site for the day, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And approximately what time are they coming back to the site?
Somewhere around 3 o'clock.
Okay. And when they return to the site, what are they doing? Do they really need to do anything on site, or are they just getting back in their vehicles and headed home for the day?
For the most part, they're getting back in their vehicles and heading home. There is an occasional where they have to unload the truck if they have prunings or debris or vegetation that they have to load up into the dumpster, but typically they're back in their trucks or their personal cars, excuse me.
Okay. And approximately what time do the construction employees come back to the site?
Typically by 4, they're back at the site.
And then what do they do when they return to the site?
Again, they unload any debris they may have, and then they load up, whether it's plants, mulch, organics, whatever, for the following day.
Okay. So when they come back, they are responsible for fully loading up vehicles so that the next day when they arrive in the morning, they can just get in the vehicle and pull right out, correct?
100%.
And that eliminates any need for any loading or noise or anything prior to or at their arrival in the morning, because it's all been done in the afternoon or evening the night before.
Correct.
Okay. And you also provide snow removal services, correct?
Yes, we do,
Okay.
unfortunately.
Now, during snow removal, like, how do your hours differ?
So typically, if they're calling for a snow event, we let the crew leaders take the trucks home. So most of the loading and connecting of plows and that stuff is done in the afternoons. Occasionally, there's a storm that we weren't maybe expecting, or some ice that we have to deal with, which would involve us needing to go to the yard, get ice melt, grab the trucks, and get down the road.
So potentially, depending on the forecast, there might be an opportunity for evening or weekend hours for that use. But most of the time, if it's a predicted event, the trucks are taken home the night before, and so there's really no activity at the site happening, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, in terms of employees, how many employees report to the site daily? We just kind of talked through the hours and how they're staggered, but let's talk about a total. How many employees report to the site daily?
Generally between 50 and 60.
Okay. And those employees have to report to the site to get their vehicles and leave, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Would you say that most of your employees are Carroll County residents?
Yes.
And some of them actually rent the house on site as well. So some are not driving to the site, they're just walking right next door, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And some of your employees, do any of them drive together?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. So at 6:15, so you have these employees who come to the site. At 6:15, when the crews are leaving the site, how many trucks are exiting the site?
It's roughly 19. We have 19 separate crews. So because we do travel, we try to load the trucks up with people. So we go down the road with 4 people in a truck. So about 19 trucks leave the yard.
Okay. And then do any of your employees have company trucks that do not require them to come to the site in the morning?
Yes.
Who, like, is there a level or how?
So
who gets the company trucks?
the manager level, basically, we have project managers that manage construction jobs and client reps that manage our maintenance clients. So there are 5 of those and 3 on the construction side. So those folks all have company vehicles. They take them home. They direct report to the sites to meet their crews. Sales, we have 3 salespeople. They all have company vehicles. They're not in the office actually that much at all. Of course, myself, Ryan, who's joined us, so who's our fleet manager, we all have company vehicles that we take home with us every night.
And you just said that office and sales sometimes are on site, sometimes are not, but on site, what types of employees are at the site all day?
So our office staff, our receptionist, our HR folks, our accounting team, probably makes up 8 to 10 people that report, that are there during the course of the day.
Okay. And what type of, you may have just said this, so I apologize, but what type of work vehicles are the employees driving? Are they pickup trucks? Are they dump trucks? What are we talking about?
Mostly pickup trucks and sort of SUVs, Explorers and stuff like that.
Okay. Aside from the arrival and departure of all of the employees that we just talked through, let's talk about any other activity that happens at the site. You do not allow retail traffic to the site, correct?
No.
Okay. You do receive deliveries for the business at the site. Is that accurate?
Yes. Yes.
So routinely, you receive plant deliveries. Is that correct?
Correct.
And how often do those come?
In the busy season, April 1st to say Thanksgiving, 2 a week probably. Usually steak body, flatbed trucks.
Okay. And those plant deliveries usually occur in the morning hours, sometime between 7 and noon, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then seasonally, you have mulch delivery. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Explain how that happens.
So mulch, obviously we do a lot of mulching. So we receive pallets of mulch for bag mulch and bulk mulch, which does come on tractor trailers. The yard is set up in a way that the tractor trailers can come in, get turned around very easily, unloaded, and they're probably in the yard for half an hour, and then they're out.
And that is very seasonal, is that correct?
Very seasonal. It'll end next 2 weeks.
So by very seasonal, we mean that occurs for about a month that you're getting mulch deliveries, and then that's it for the year, correct?
Correct.
Okay. You also have a regular trash dumpster pickup, is that accurate?
Yes,
How many times a week does that occur?
twice a week.
And then normal course of business, you have FedEx, UPS, those sorts of deliveries occurring, is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay. Types of vehicles and equipment that are stored on the site. You just explained the types of vehicles that your employees are driving with the company pickup trucks and such. Are there any other trucks that are being stored on the site?
So we do have one CDL truck that we use to move our equipment around. So we own a few skid loaders, some backhoes and things, and that equipment typically stays on the job sites, and then we use this truck to shuttle it from job to job. So it would be that truck, the CDL truck, and a few box trailers for our maintenance equipment, but that's really it.
Okay. Is there any equipment that is stored regularly at the site?
There's one skid loader that we leave there to unload mulch and plants and stuff like that.
So you have other equipment, but that is all goes from job site to job site and just is stored at the job sites, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And aside from what is shown on the plan that accompanied the application, are you proposing to construct any new buildings?
No.
Okay. Now, you do have lighting on the site, and that's actually shown in the one photo, is that correct?
Correct.
So there are light posts out back, and one of the structures has some lights on it, is that accurate?
Yes.
Are those all on timers?
Yes.
Okay, so those all automatically shut off by 7 or 8 p.m., is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, and you understand that any lighting will have to be addressed through the site plan process as well?
Yes. Yes.
Are you willing to conform with any county code requirements in terms of signage on site?
Yes.
And you've spoken with your neighbors, and that was the result of some of those support letters, is that correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Those are my only questions of Mr. Vidrani.
Okay, questions?
I don't have any questions. No, I'm fine.
I got a boatload, guys. Okay, go ahead.
So, okay, it's been operating continuously since you established your business there, is that correct?
Correct.
So at what point in time was there a realization that it lapsed?
So the county actually reached out and let me know that I was now required to move back to 1 acre. Not really understanding all of that is when I called Kelly, frankly. Yes, does that answer your question?
When?
What was that? Probably 5-6 months ago.
Just general information.
Sure. It was actually over the summer.
Yeah, gotcha.
Okay, so I guess I'm the only board member that was here when you were here before us back in 2019.
You were here when they built the building.
I was in this room before it was completed as a
That's
planning
my point.
Point made.
I do remember
Tom
you.
Rio gave me the tour, so anyway. So, sorry. That was not testimony, Mr. Dixon, okay? I just want you to know that.
Really?
So the question is, why did we not pursue a site plan?
So the stormwater management piece of the site plan was, in my very humble opinion, just exorbitant. They were requiring about a 3/4 of an acre wetland, gravel wetland. Extremely expensive to install, and some of it is my ignorance, I will admit that. I didn't realize the ramifications of not. I know this isn't the site plan meeting, and I'm prepared to talk to the site plan people when this comes up, but, yeah, that was really the reason. It was very cost prohibitive for us at the time.
Okay. And
I will, if I may.
Ms. Miller's made some comment about the uniqueness of the lot. Could you go through that for me?
Mr. Lemmerman is also going to
Okay,
testify
okay.
to a lot of the technical.
Very good, okay,
Yes.
that's good. In a previous case, you testified that you had between 40 and 43 employees and didn't expect to grow to more than 50. But you just testified that you have between 50 and 60 employees presently. Is that correct?
That is correct.
What future expansion, as far as number of employees, do you have?
What, future expansion?
Do you expect future expansion?
And I realize this was 7 years ago.
Yeah. And then COVID happened, which was very good to the landscape business, honestly. Honestly, we will not be able to expand much more in our current facility. So we have entertained a property closer to DC to sort of split the two sides of the company. So I mean, in our current location, I don't believe we can expand anymore. So I don't think there will be any more expansion there.
Okay. And in the previous case, you said that typically the employees arrive at the site between 6:30 and 7, and now that has changed, that the employees show up at 6 o'clock?
That was part of the reconsideration hearing, was that, if you remember the case, I didn't want it to be 6:30 to 7. That was the people that were opposing us at the time. So we have always started at 6. And it's in an effort to get down the road before traffic. So we accepted the 7 o'clock start time in the original hearing, and that's what started the reconsideration hearing, was we needed to get back. We tried it at 7, and it would take us 2 hours to get to DC. Probably didn't answer.
No, I think that wasn't responsive, but I will also say that Mr. Bale, I don't know how good your memory is, and I don't want to insult you, but the reconsideration, the original case, Mr. Bowersox was representing Mr. Vidrani, and then due to some health problems, I came in for the reconsideration request. And there had been the condition in the first case in 2019, I think had inadvertently been placed based on some misunderstanding of testimony. And once that was pointed out in the reconsideration case, then the board determined that the hours were appropriate to be 6, because, like Chris said, his operation has always been as he described it. There had been some, I think, I'll say miscommunication, but then once it was pointed out to the original transcript, everybody agreed that that is what had been testified to in the original case.
And I'm going to ask this question because it's in the decision. Is Ms. Dimitrov, is she still a resident?
She has moved.
She just moved.
Okay. And that's all I have. I did remember those things, and I do remember that it was part of her, never mind, that's testimony. Okay, that's the only questions I have. And any other questions? Go ahead, Rich.
I've got one question. There was at least, I think I lost count, but at least 8 neighbors said that they were happy with you operating a business there. On the RTF plan, could you point out where those would be? Which ones they would be?
Mr. Caldwell, they're a bit scattered. It might take us a little while, and
Well, I don't want to, belabor it. Are they approximately around the site?
they are. If you look at the addresses, most of the support letters are from Buckhorn, people who live on Buckhorn Road. I think I took a look just to see where all of their houses were located, and off memory, most of them were on the other side of Buckhorn. And then there's one on, I believe one of the support letters came in from someone who lives on Amantia Way, which is a little offshoot right before you get to the site on Buckhorn, where there's a subdivision back that road. So that's not, you can't see that very clearly on here, but that would be to the left and kind of situated back from the plan, the RTF plan. But
Right.
they're kind of scattered in that proximity, of Buckhorn predominantly.
All right, so it's fair to say then, to summarize, would be that your adjacent neighbors are very much in favor of you being there.
I mean, the adjacent neighbors, to be quite fair, were notified and are not here today.
I'm not here, right.
So,
Fair enough.
yes.
About the nursing home?
Well, I will point out that the one adjacent neighbor is the former nursing home, Britton Woods, the former Britton Woods nursing home.
Yes.
That's the one adjacent neighbor who's had no concerns or problems with Mr. Vidrani over the years. He is the other adjacent neighbor on the plan because he owns that adjacent parcel. So,
And I am in
yes.
support. Sorry.
That nursing home is vacant right now.
It is, you're correct.
okay.
And also to be clear, even though he owns that one adjacent property, because it is a separate property, we did have to request a variance from that. So just so that you understand, that is one of the requests in the application. There's no real opportunity for him to just consent and say, I don't need that, even though in reality,
Right.
that's the situation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So it's a quick question, just to clarify, are there any changes to the variances that you're asking for today compared to what was asked for previously?
There are. To be clear, most, if not all, of the distance variances are different today because the code is different today than it
changed,
was in
right.
2019. The two setback variances, it's interesting, I took a look at that actually, and one got a little bit further and one got a little bit closer by a matter of like 3 feet. So in 2019, there was a setback request, a variance request from 40 feet to 25 feet. Our request is from 40 feet to 21 feet. And then, so we got a little bit more on that, but then there was a side yard setback variance request from 30 feet to 17 feet, and now the request is 30 to 24 feet, so that one got less.
Are those variances listed here in the case?
They are. Those are the two setback variances. The area variance is the same as was approved in 2019. Like I said, there were those two setback variances that were approved in 2019. They've just changed a little bit. And then the distance variances, although a distance variance was granted in 2019, the list here is more robust because of the code changes that happened since 2019.
But not real expansive. I mean, it's like the distances are not that much.
There used to be a 400-foot requirement, and now there's the 600 or
600,
900,
well, yeah.
depending on. So you'll see a myriad of different distances here. Some are much farther away, and therefore the variance requested is much smaller, and some the variance requested is larger because of that. The code, not only did that 400-foot change, but the terminology in terms of the applicable properties change. So over the course of the BZA history, you've just seen a difference in the variances as it relates to distance because the language itself changed some of the applicable properties, if you will.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much for your testimony.
Thank you.
Thank you. I would next call Mr. John Lemmerman. John, can you please introduce yourself, spelling your last name and stating your address for the record?
Good morning, John Lemmerman, Lemmerman, and address is 142 East Main Street in Westminster, Maryland.
Mr. Lemmerman has appeared in front of this board several times. I am going to ask that he be qualified as an expert in the area of surveying and site design. I am happy to ask him any qualifying questions, should you desire me to.
We will accept him as an expert witness in those fields.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lemmerman, have you been present for the entirety of this case and heard Mr. Vidrani's testimony?
Yes, I have.
And were you asked to prepare the drawing that accompanied this application?
Yes,
And were you involved in the application and hearing process in 2019 as well?
I was. Not so much as the second one with the hour adjustments, but yes, the original case I was.
Okay. In preparing the plan that accompanied this application and the application in 2019, did you have the opportunity to take a look at the zoning of the property, the natural features and topography of this property and the surrounding area?
Yes, I did.
What is the zoning of the subject property?
It's zoned agricultural.
John, I'm handing you what we've marked as applicant's exhibit 6. Is that a copy of the county zoning map?
Yes, it is.
Does that show the subject property as being agriculturally zoned?
Yes.
How would you describe the surrounding zoning?
It's surrounded by agricultural zoning. Also, there is across the street is all zoned conservation. And there is to the north or west, there is some, what's that? R40, yeah, color's off. R40 zoning that touches the property only into the rear, which is not where the actual contractor storage yard is.
I would like to ask that applicant's exhibit 6 please be entered.
And we will accept that into evidence.
Thank you. John, what is the size of the subject site?
It is 17.99 acres total.
And
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
17.99 acres.
And how is the property accessed?
It's accessed off of Buckhorn Road. There's a entrance way that goes adjacent to the residence that's on there. And once you pass that, it's kind of like an enclosed area that opens up into just the contractor's storage area.
And is Buckhorn Road a county-owned and maintained road?
Yes, it is.
Are you aware of whether Buckhorn Road is built to county specifications?
Generally speaking, yes, it is.
You heard the type of vehicles and trips and such that Chris spoke to today. Do you believe that Buckhorn is capable of handling those types of vehicles and that amount of traffic?
Yes, I do.
Are you aware that the applicant has requested several variances as part of the application?
Yes, I am.
Are those variances depicted with the red sort of arrows on the plan that accompanied the application?
Yes, that is correct.
Are you generally familiar with the variance standard that's set forth in the county code and also Maryland case law?
I am.
In 2019, the distance requirements of the code were different than they are today. Is that accurate?
That is accurate, yes.
So in terms of the unique and unusual characteristics of the property, you've had the opportunity to look at some of those past BZA decisions. Is that correct?
Yes, I have.
Do you agree that the shape of the property as recognized in those previous decisions is a unique and unusual characteristic?
Yes, I am. It was, I think, referred to as a hockey puck shape, or not hockey puck, but a hockey stick. More like, and then
Pretty small.
right? And
All that takes care of that.
right, and the front is kind of a lot of jig jogs in the property line also.
And in those BZA approvals, past BZA approvals, the property has been recognized as eligible for variances under the unique and unusual threshold, correct?
It has, yes.
Now, can you talk a little bit about the topography of this property, how it changes from the front of the site down into the rear of the site?
Sure. It slopes away from the road, which is away from Buckhorn Road, all the way to the rear of the property. Once you get past the contractor storage area, it's pretty flat and slopes down towards the back wooded area. There's some wetlands back there, so it's not very environmentally able to be developed for environmental purposes back there.
Okay, so the rear of the property is not really developable because of some of the features and the topography.
That's correct. And then it's also, it's pretty well landscaped or screened, I should say. There's some mature landscaping around the perimeter of the commercial use area already. And then just based on the previous site plan submittal, that the existing landscaping already meets the Carroll County's landscaping requirements.
So the contractor yard area is pretty substantially screened today, correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay. If the code requirements were to be held strictly to for the distances, is there anywhere on this entire property where a contractor yard could be located where it would not require variances?
No, there's not.
Okay. Is that accurate even if the yard were 1 acre in size and not 2 acres?
That is correct. That would make little difference.
Okay. And it is accurate that a contractor's equipment storage yard is a recognized conditional use in the agricultural zone, is that correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay. do you believe or are you aware of any threat to the public safety and welfare if these variances are granted?
No, I'm not.
In your opinion, do the requested variances meet the standards set in Maryland case law?
Yes, I believe they do.
And have you had the opportunity in your career to work on other contractors' equipment storage yard cases?
Yes, many.
Many in Carroll County, is that correct?
That is correct.
And in your experience, would you say that this request here today before the board is different, more intense than other contractors' equipment storage yards in terms of use?
Based on the testimony and the circumstances with the employees, I would say no, definitely not.
Okay. And in your experience in considering and thinking about some of the uses that are allowed in the agricultural zoning district, do you believe that this use is more or less intense than some of the other uses permitted in the ag district?
There are others that are more intense in the agricultural district. There's, for example, commercial agricultural can be pretty intense, commercial stables, agritourism, so there's more intense uses that are principal permitted uses in the ag zone.
Thank you. That concludes my questions for Mr. Limmerman.
Board members, questions of Mr. Limmerman's testimony?
No questions.
I don't even have any questions. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Limmerman.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our presentation of testimony here today.
Okay, presentation of testimony and evidence is now closed, and summations are in order. Ms. Miller.
Thank you. I think that you have seen a shift in the climate since 2019. What I will say to you is that Mr. Vedrani has been operating out there for some time now. I think he's established a reputation in his community. I know that you all conducted a site visit, which is the ordinary practice of this board, and I think I'll say what I see, and I think you probably saw the same, is that this is a very organized and well-kept contractor equipment storage yard. He does have what you might see as more employees than some other contractors' equipment storage yards. But I also think that the use at the yard is much less intense than oftentimes what you see. Not all the time, but sometimes you are seeing contractors' equipment storage yards where they might be crushing material, grinding material, doing those sorts of things on site, which are customary with many contractor yards. That is not something that is happening on this site. So the site itself, in terms of its impact, is really very, very low in nature because it is truly employees arriving, employees leaving, and he is very mindful of making sure that none of that noise or disruption would be occurring during hours, early morning hours and such, by loading vehicles in advance the afternoon before. And I think because it's been in practice for a few years, you've now seen the result of that with the lack of any participation in this hearing process that perhaps was present back in 2019. So we understand that we have to go through a site plan process. We have talked about that. Chris is very well aware of the site plan process and how that is required to effectuate a BZA approval. So we understand that that will need to be submitted and gone through after any approval here today. And through that process, we will have to meet all of the technical requirements of the county code, and Chris is very aware of that. So we believe that we have, I believe that we have put on the necessary evidence to show to you that this case meets the conditional use standard set forth in Schultz v. Pritz, and that there is nothing greater or more intense or creating more adverse impacts about this use than a contractor yard anywhere else in Carroll County. And I would also submit to you that this property is unique and unusual, as has been recognized by boards past, because of the shape of the property, some of the topographical features and environmental features of the property, and that imposing such requirements as these distance requirements on this property would mean that no contractor yard could be put on it, because there's nowhere to locate that yard on a close to 18-acre piece that could meet those requirements. So without those approvals here today, it would render the property useless for a contractor yard. And it has been recognized, like I said, in those past 2 cases as meeting the variance standard set forth in the code and Maryland case law. Excuse me. So we are here today requesting your approval of the contractor's equipment storage yard conditional use and all of the associated variances. Thank you.
Okay. The hearing and record of this case is now closed in accordance with the Open Meetings Act of Maryland. The board will now consider the case.
First, if you wish.
Go ahead.
Thank you for your testimony today and for a very well-prepared case. The fact that this location has been in use for almost 19 years for landscape business, and the lack of negative representation, should I say here, a lot of positive comments from neighbors. They appreciate you being there. They're happy with your presence there. You have a good track record with your neighbors. You have a good track record as a businessman operating here. Your business is being steadily growing. You're getting pretty close to, as you said, the limit of what you can do there. We estimated about room for about 50 vehicles parked for employees, and it was, you know, it's a tidy place. You run it very well. I think I have no objection to you continuing to operate there, so I would give my endorsement in this request.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ms. Enns?
Yeah, I would concur with Richard's, my esteemed colleagues' comments. Back at you. I don't know, he started it. I'm too young to be esteemed.
Never too young.
But I would concur, this is, your organization, and when I was on the site visit, very neat, very clean. I'm in the trades a little bit, it's like, wow, I see chaos in many places, and it was just very well run from what I could tell. So it was just nice to see that.
Thank
I
you.
own a business too, so
That's why he's here. That's what Ryan does for us.
good job, Ryan. Yeah, it matters, it really does. So, but I see, you know, all the, I think any undue changes that would be required would be onerous at this point for you, so I'm approval.
I don't have any problem with the request. I reflect back on what I tell a lot of people who come to the board and get these requests, that now you get to go through the site plan process, so the real work begins. And again, that can be kind of arduous, but as far as from a zoning standpoint, I think it's very appropriate.
Okay, a couple of things. Some of the conditions of approval, number C in the previous one was an approval for which a site plan is required. So I just want to make sure that that is understood. And your legal counsel will remind you of that also, I'm sure.
It's
A couple
very
of things
clear
we
now.
need to look at. The hockey puck, stick shape of the lot, I remember very well because there is no place on this site that you could even take a hockey puck size area that would not require variances. It is a very uniquely shaped lot, and we addressed that in the previous case. So that is to be, the variance requirements would result in practical difficulty or unreasonable hardship. When this property was purchased, it had previously been a contractor storage yard, maybe not in the intensity that it's used today, but it had been used and had board approval as a contractor storage yard. So when considering the variance requirements, it definitely would result in practical difficulty or unreasonable hardship. As far as the Schultz v. Pritz standards, it was testified by Mr. Lemmerman that this would meet the Schultz v. Pritz standards, that there would not generate adverse effects beyond those normally associated with such a use in this zone. I was part of the hearings in 2019, and there was quite a bit of opposition at that time to the use of this property, the way it was requested. And it's very good to see that that is not the case here today. So with that, any other comments, guys?
No?
With that, I'll go ahead and entertain a motion.
I'll give you one if you wish. In case number 6605, before the Board of Zoning Appeals, that the board approve the request for a conditional use contractor's equipment storage yard for a lot size, the contractor area lot size, and multiple distance variances.
Okay, in the previous case, there were restrictions on the time. Do we want to go there or no? I'm just asking that question.
I wouldn't see a need for it.
Well, the only
Maybe it's like
reason,
a half an hour.
yeah, the only reason you would put a time frame in it is to protect the interest of the neighbors, not that it's bad. And again, you know, this lot could be sold to someone else who has nothing but night operations. So you may want to consider doing those hours,
That's a good point.
you know, if you hear what I'm saying.
Yes, I hear.
And
So there was no variance, there was no inclusion of the hours in the previous variances?
It was.
it was.
Hours already stated as 6:30 in the morning, right?
Remember, it was 7, and then it came back to appeal that. It went
To 6:30.
6 to 6, Monday through Friday.
So,
So just confirm what the current.
it was 6 to 8.
6 o'clock, 6 o'clock Monday.
So we'd be,
But we'd have to put a caveat in there, notwithstanding special circumstances, weather conditions or whatever, that
Absolutely.
covers snow plowing.
And that was testified to, that could possibly be an exemption.
Again, we have to understand, we're giving it goes with the property, so if he sold it, someone came in here and did nothing but night operations, they'd be totally within the parameters of their rights to do so.
so we'll delineate.
We would have no objection, just to be clear, that you use the condition that's set forth in that reconsideration case related to hours. That's how the site's,
That's what I was referring
Yes.
to.
Okay. Okay.
So that'd be the 6 AM to 6 PM?
yes. There's more detail, it's up to you, but there's more details if you just want to
And
copy and
we want
paste.
to add a recognition of extraordinary requirements for snow removal operations.
That's fine.
So you want to restate your motion?
Yes, I will, just a moment.
And I was in violation of Robert's Rules of Order because we really shouldn't have discussed that till we got a second, but anyway. You want to withdraw your own
I wanted
motion?
to
I'll
talk-
withdraw and
I'm gonna talk to you
resubmit.
about that after the meeting.
I'll withdraw the first motion and and offer a second motion.
Okay.
In case number 6605, before the Board of Zoning Appeals, that the board approve the request for the contractor storage yard for the increased lot size and multiple distance variances, operating hours from 6 AM to 6 PM, with recognition of snow removal exigencies requiring additional hours.
Second.
Okay. Discussion on the motion. Okay, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. Our oral decision will become final upon a written decision, which will be issued within 30 days unless otherwise extended by this board. The board's decision may be appealed by filing a petition for judicial review with the clerk of the circuit court for Carroll County in accordance with the provisions of Chapter 200, Title 7 of the Maryland Rules of Procedure. The appeal must be filed within 30 days of the date of the board's written decision. Thank you very much, and this hearing is adjourned.
Thank you.